Yo! Video games.
What up, dudes, and welcome back to the YoVideogames podcast. I'm Matt.
And I'm Andrew.
And once again, thank you to all our generous patrons who kept us going for over 500 episodes.
Yeah, if you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames podcast. Dude of the week is Justin DS. Thank you, Justin.
Thank you,
and
Justin
since
DS.
You're a patron, you'll know that you were also due to the week for a bonus episode. For those of you that aren't patrons, the episodes go out a little bit early for patrons. And we realized that all the biggest news had busted out onto the scene just after we recorded for that one. So we made that a bonus full episode for patrons, and we're re-recording now to be more in line with
it kind of got real untimely, unfortunately.
Well, this is a state of games going into holiday 2025, and the state of games changed drastically all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Within hours of us finishing recording that. So
yeah,
things got crazy.
I mean, here's your big blanket statement. Well, maybe why you clicked on if you're new to this whole series, whatever. Thank you. Third party and gaming in America is kind of dead. Like the American third party publisher is pretty much fried at this point. It's cooked. There's 2K left.
2K is it. Well, I guess technically
Take-Two Interactive, I guess. Take-Two,
Rockstar,
2K,
technically.
under Take-Two.
Oh, yeah, they are, yeah. Yeah, shit. I don't...
so it's gone. It's cooked. Like there wasn't much left anyways because Microsoft... Because I say third party, and, Microsoft, even though it functions as a third party, it is still technically, in a sense, first party.
First party, right.
They gobbled up Bethesda. They gobbled up Activision, and they were huge. And then there was like EA was left, and then there was 2K or Take-Two, however you want to look at it. I just say 2K because it's just easier. You know what I'm saying? Just 2K. I mean, 2K is kind of like its own branch because there's Take-Two Interactive, which they own Rockstar. They own the 2K logo moniker. That's the parent company. So I guess it'd be more accurate to say Take-Two. But, the biggest third party.
I get confused by that all the time, especially even when we were going to when E3 existed.
Yeah.
The signs would be different. Because there'd be a Take-Two sign and there'd also be a 2K sign. Because 2K is Gearbox would have all their stuff under the 2K booth, right?
Yeah, and well, that was even before they got bought by Take-Two.
Yeah.
So, it's super weird because the big three of Take-Two Interactive is Rockstar, 2K, Zynga. If anyone remembers what Zynga is,
I don't even remember what Zynga is.
You remember Zynga? That's where Don Matrick. That's where he fucked off to poison that well after poisoning Xbox.
Well, that's probably why I don't know what Zynga is.
Dude, Zynga was like, remember when browser-based gaming, Facebook gaming?
Yeah.
Zynga. Zynga was huge. In
like Farmville and crap?
Yes.
Oh.
Correct. Yeah. Like that's Zynga. Or I guess I should say that kind of was Zynga, but Farmville 3, they do like Words with Friends. They pretty much probably survive almost entirely on Words with Friend and Farmville at this point.
It's like a 10-year reunion when you run into people and you're like, oh, what are you doing now? And like, it's mostly just sad.
I mean, Words with Friends is pretty freaking huge in the mobile sector, but yeah.
Do they also do Wordle? Is that similar to Words?
No, they don't. I don't think they do Wordle themselves, but they got a lot of just crap. Empires and Puzzles, Game of Thrones, Slots Casino.
If you're the youths and you haven't gone to your 10-year reunion yet, or maybe you were smart and you decided not to go to your 10-year reunion, let me tell you, as a person with an eclectic career, meaning I have done all sorts of weird shit, there is no good conversation.
I don't think for me, it's weird because I had such a tiny class for where I technically graduated. That's like, I don't think anyone ever said anything about it, but
you didn't have to go and see a guy who was relatively normal in high school seem a little bit tweaked out and have to sit through a
No, I don't. I'm trying to think of because I could actually tell you. Well, the one thing is like I don't remember. I one last I heard one guy in my graduating class went to try to become a fireman and then got involved in the Afghan Iraq conflicts. I believe he got deported, or a couple of them did. Not deported.
deployed.
Deployed. Sorry, whatever. It's
Dude went to
same.
Afghanistan, came back, and was just like
I
deported.
think it was deployed, whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened to some of the others. One immediately married a plumber and had like 4 kids. Just
Hell yeah. Dude's good with pipes.
yeah, I guess so. But it was a religious schooling, so it was funny how everyone was all super like promise ring and everyone make sure they stay virgin. So what do? They get married at 18 and have kids immediately. they just
How
they just
Catholic of them. That's not
immediately
even.
get. And then when it wasn't Catholic, it was not a Catholic organization. It was Protestant, whatever. But I mean, it's just kind of like it's funny how the whole like we're going to remain pure and whatever. So marry immediately and just have sex
Get
immediately.
to it.
Like that kid was born. Okay, we'll get ready. Like get number 2 going the day after they delivered. Kind of
Well,
thing. So,
happy marriage, I guess.
I doubt that. Well, also not.
My
Whatever.
grandmother pumped out a kid every 10 months. Seven ants.
Every 10 months.
Yeah.
What the fuck? I don't know, man.
Happy marriage. They never fought. They were
some people I don't get, man.
Too busy boning, apparently.
Oh my God. Let's not talk about that anymore. I'm done with that subject here. But yeah, third parties are dead in America.
Yeah, no, it's actually sort of sad when you think about like a lot of. What's your favorite third party game? I don't even know if I could think of one off the top of my head, but I'm sure that a lot of my favorite games were third party games.
I mean, probably Nier Automata. It's Japanese, but we're talking about like favorite American.
Well, yeah, I was thinking like American.
I mean, I'd go way more indie on that note. I mean, like I like the Shantae games, stuff like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and you have an encyclopedic knowledge more than like if you asked me that same question, I don't know if I could come up with one off the top of my head. And
yeah, well, third parties it was third party, but COD 4 I lost so much of my years and months,
that's true,
if not days of my life to playing COD 4, which was
technically third party. Yeah, it didn't even
was third party, and it was made in America. It was made on the best coast. It was.
That's true.
So
I guess that is. I guess I have to cop out and say that is the favorite because I think that's maybe the game that I put the most hours into outside of like Resident Evil 4.
Yeah, and Blops 4, I put Blackout. I've put an ungodly amount of hours into Blackout.
I guess for anybody that doesn't know why we're saying this, which is fair, EA went private in like a $50 billion deal.
55 billion.
Yeah, so if you owned EA stock, I think their stock was at like 185 a share, and you got paid at like 215 or 250 or something like that. Don't hold me to this, but I remember reading it. So you got a premium buyout of your shares against your will, but you got paid out. I think you got like a 35 to 50% premium on what you owned. Mm-hmm. So a payday, but 20% of the company was bought with debt, which means that EA, already known for its crappy profit maxing practices, is going to have to get even worse. It means cut teams. It means, more loot boxes, more, penny pinching.
Yeah, apparently JP Morgan considered that $20 billion loan like a bad loan, or I forget what the term they had, but it was like, this is a junk loan or a junk debt thing or whatever they took on for it.
Yeah, it's going to be bad. What could happen? Does EA own any other big brands like that hasn't been producing lately? I can't think if EA owns like a sub company
Not, I mean, not really. Usually they buy a developer and they shut them down. That's kind of in their way of going.
So what happens? So the reason why WB, this is an aside, but this is why you should understand why private equity can be such a pain in the ass, because they do things like this. I don't think WB is private equity, but uh, so Discovery buys, AT&T slash Warner Brothers, right? Or AT&T buys Discovery slash Warner Brothers, and then they pile on the debt from the deal or the debt from AT&T. They just pile all their debt into one of the subsidiary companies, WB.
Right. Yeah.
And then they hire a guy like Zaslav, whose whole deal is taking a company that is basically owning the debt and squeezing every bit of profit they can out of that company to clear as much debt. And if they fail, that company goes under. But the main brand, who has written off all that debt into that other company, is fine. So
Yeah.
private
And
equity does this all the time. They buy a company, they sell off all the most valuable parts to basically make money for themselves, and then they do everything they can to squeeze every penny out of that they can out of it before completely killing the company off or selling it to someone else, to a competitor.
yeah,
So
it's hard to say though. 'Cause I don't think this is a gutting thing, because there's definitely,
it's got the Saudi private investment fund.
right, private. It's a private investment from Saudi Arabia, and it's funny because the other part is Silver Lake Management,
Mhm.
and Affinity Partners by Jared Kushner. Jared Kushner's in Silver Lake and Affinity Partners. The funny thing about Affinity Partners, the investment fund that's part of this buyout, is, guess who funds the Affinity Partners?
Who?
Saudi Arabia.
Hmm.
So that meme of like Obama, like putting a medal on Obama,
Yeah.
it's kind of like, oh, like Saudi Arabia and our partners that are Saudi Arabia backed are buying EA. So it's basically Saudi Arabia is buying. I mean, there's been more information that's come out of it. They're the largest contributor to this buyout is the PIF. They're I think they're putting 36 billion in equity up front from it. So again, just like Evo, just like SNK, I don't really know what this entails necessarily, other than the fact that like they are trying to diversify their economy, their portfolio, if you will.
Yes.
Because this isn't anything crazy to say, but for a long time, the main export of Saudi Arabia has been oil.
The only export. It has supported all of their
Kind
economy.
of the only thing, right? And it's obviously done a lot, but it's a finite resource. They're going to run out of it eventually, or people are going to just move to alternative fuels. This has already been happening. So they're kind of doing what they have to do, which is get into other businesses. So
there are very, very, very few instances where private equity doesn't shitify whatever it buys into the ground. Because private equity doesn't want to run a business. They want to maximize profit and get the hell out. That's the whole thing.
Well, that's the difference, because this isn't like EA isn't going private. Like EA didn't buy the shares back, because that's like one thing. It's like a business goes private where like the company itself buys all the shares off of the
totally
market
different
and then
thing.
Goes private. This is not EA going private is different from EA becoming part of private and equity investors. It's different. Someone else is buying EA.
And
it's
taking
not
them private.
In taking them into a private equity. This is not EA themselves. We're going private. It's a very different thing.
Right. They bought EA and made it private. They could, I guess, eventually take it public again, because a private equity can go public with a company. Like a public company can be owned by private equity, I think. I mean, I'm not a financial guy necessarily, so like I understand very
well
the
really telling thing is that $20 billion of debt that EA is taking
real
on,
bad. It's not great.
Which means that again they're gonna things are gonna get cut really hard and fast here.
You're gonna see teams get laid off, absolutely,
big time. And I think everyone, and they've even talked to people who've already openly stated, "Yep, I'm already making my I've been making my portfolio." All the people at BioWare are like, "Yeah, we're just waiting for it to happen."
Yeah,
Like,
this is
that is the word from BioWare. Is we're just waiting. We're just like we're gonna keep working until they tell us not to, but we're not expecting to be around much longer.
yeah. I can't really in recent memory think of a time where private equity made things better.
It's an oddball thing because of just the circumstances of who's buying it. But I mean, again, with all that debt they're taking on, and this is what I try to tell people, like even before like getting into like all the ins and outs of the insider trading aspect of this, and this means that, and they're gonna move this. Just think of it this way. How much money does EA every year make in profit? Like what is the profit? Not what they made total, but like how much profit does EA make in a year?
Oh yeah, I don't know, but it's not 20 billion.
Here, I'll see if I can. I'll see if I can just pull something up really fast on it. It's exactly what they reported. The revenue of 7.5 and well, GAAP net revenue of approximately 7.5 billion for the fiscal year ending in March 21st. 1.7 billion for the first quarter fiscal.
I mean, that's way better than I thought. I thought it was going to be like 4 or 5.
That's net revenue. I'm talking about profit, right?
Like pure pure profit. Yeah.
Right, pure profit.
And they got to pay the debt out of that. So I don't
Right. So okay, like let's say best case scenario, they make maybe $5 to $6 billion profit. Maybe. It's going to take them 15 years, or at least over a decade. If they were making $5 billion in profit every year, and the person who bought them for 55, it's going to take them 11 years to pay that off, right? Like,
yeah, and
then in 11 and in year 12, you can start making money. But there's it gets a lot more complicated than that. And again, that might be an inflated number. That might, who knows? Like EA probably brings in a couple billion. Like imagine if it's like $1 or $2 billion of profit every year EA brings in, right?
so
And they're
this
being bought for 55. Just imagine that. $55 billion you're buying it. They bring in, with all the money they spend, 1 billion every year. That would take 55 years to get that profit back.
yeah, so the thing is also with this type of loan, they are almost always adjustable rate based on the market rate.
Yeah.
And they mature. And usually they mature like, well, I don't know if it's how different it is from real estate, but it's like 3 to 5 years or like 5 to 10 years. Like it'll mature and then the rate will go up.
Right. Because the thing is, we're all talking about what's really happening here is all the funny money, and fake dollars or whatever. But like, just if this was like a liquid cash on hand sale, for the company, which it's not. But I mean, if it was a cash on hand sale for the company, it's like, okay, I buy you for $55 billion. How long is that going to take? Over a decade. Best case scenario for you to pay back, or to earn
Or
back the
get
money I
back,
spent.
yeah.
To get back the money I spent in it, I'm going to have to wait over a decade. That's best case scenario. And it could be 30 years. It could be 50 years. It could be anywhere in between that. Point is it's going to be well over a decade before you would even see a dime of profit on the thing you just bought, because of how much it cost. And that's just and that's keeping it as is. Keeping the EA money machine is, and again, like you were saying though too,
Oh, they're
because
going to squeeze.
they're going to squeeze, because they're it's not just $55 billion. Oh, there's this $20 billion debt loan that they're taking on.
It's going to be bad, is what we're getting
they're
at.
going to gut most. They're going to, pretty much in my mind, everything that isn't Madden and Football Club, college sports, or Battlefield. They're going to gut. They're just going to gut it completely. And I think there's going to be, if Battlefield 6 doesn't overperform this year, then I think they're not going to gut Battlefield, but like a bunch, because there's a bunch of studios now that just work on like Criterion and others that are just Battlefield studios now. They're going to get gutted really quickly too, if it's like, okay, well, we're not keeping all of this open. I think whatever's left in California as far as EA goes, gone. like just gone. Maybe even their headquarters gone, like in the Redwood Shores, the Playa del Vista, location gone.
It makes me wonder, because here, if EA owns the building that it's headquartered in, because for a
Which I believe
while
it
there,
does.
yeah, for a while there, most companies would buy the building that they were going to have their company headquartered in,
Yeah.
and then I think it's in like the 80s or 90s they all moved to like, that's when it started where they would do like leases because you could write leases off. It was
Mhm.
scalable
Yeah.
cost. But yeah, the point is this is going to be bad. And the other thing that we talked about in the previous episode that got somewhat outdated is like, people don't realize that Sony's not doing all that hot themselves either. Like,
Yeah,
they're in a fragile position now too. And that's not
for
just
sure.
PlayStation. PlayStation's fragile. Sony, the mother company, is very
Yeah.
fragile.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, of the three, I guess the big three, Nintendo, pretty strong. I mean, it's riding the wave of COVID tariff, Coverif, whatever we want to
I
call
mean,
it.
they're not, and they're not, obviously, they're probably not happy about it, but then they are raising costs and doing weird things to try to offset all the like unnecessary
But they're healthy.
economic BS. But they're healthy because Nintendo's smart. They have been hiring people, but they've not been on a explosion of hiring, if
Yeah,
you
they don't
will.
they don't balloon and then shrink. They don't do that shrink jump
Yeah, they're just
stuff.
like they're just like, okay, we basically like, what do we basically need? Their whole thing has just been, what is the absolute who are the most critical people we need to make a game? We'll take them, and then that's it.
Well,
Uh
this is something like, it makes me wonder because, okay, Sony not doing great. They're gonna close studios definitely.
Yeah, someone
Um,
in my chat, and I don't know, I can't remember the name who are off the top of my head right now, asked me, and it was really depressing. Um, the not just the question, but the answer I had to give, which was, what the hell is going to happen to Sucker Punch after Ghost of Yotei comes out? Like, what hope does it have to retain its work or its devs, in light of the fact that Insomniac had to lay people off after Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 came out and within 2 months sold 10 million copies, and Insomniac
yeah,
still
huge
had to
hit.
lay people off. And I said, there is no hope.
Yeah,
People
they're
will
gonna,
absolutely
yeah.
be laid off. I mean, people have already been laid off for completely BS reasons at Sucker Punch, but like, people will get laid off now that this game is done. Not
Right.
in It doesn't even matter how successful this game is. It's just this is the problem with the wider Western gaming market, where it's just, we're in this, it's a lot like movie and especially the animation film industry, which is, we have contractors, it's,
Yeah.
we're very gun shy about
Project
ever.
based. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't really want to hire a full-time employee and then keep paying them, because certain people, are going to be more important at certain points of development, and once they're done with that side of development, like the concept artist, once the concept art has been settled on and they've done everything for us, then it goes into, the rendering and the programming, and what do? They go to work on DLC, or maybe they go to work on the next project. But if that DLC or next project work is months, if not years out, why are we still paying them? Get rid of them.
Yeah.
So yeah, the
It's
reality is, it's just like, you finish a game, you get, a lot of you are getting let go.
Yeah, the bulk of you are getting let go. Um, I Microsoft is also interesting because they have enough of, I guess, bankroll that they can weather the storm. But if you needed any obvious or needed any evidence that they are also fragile, the gaming division, uh, just look, they went on a massive spending spree and almost immediately had to start cutting teams they just paid good money for.
Yeah.
So, not a great sign for Microsoft
Yeah,
either.
and Microsoft spent more money to get Activision than EA is getting bought for, and yeah, they immediately started gutting people to
Yeah.
cut costs. And
And then add to that, like, look at the things that Microsoft is doing. They are clearly moving away from hardware, but they are partnering to make branded hardware.
Yeah.
So they don't want to be in the hardware business, but they want to use their brand to get a slice of hardware business.
Yeah, I think for them it's all about brand recognition. Like they want brand recognition there. They kind of want like the logo and the name kind of like in people's minds. And I think maybe they're trying to put themselves into like a Nike or like a Reebok position or something like that. Where it's just like you see the brand on it and you're like, it's like, okay, like you go to Universal Studios and you see, I don't know what they serve, their Coke or Pepsi, but let's say they serve Pepsi there. You see a Pepsi logo there, right? You don't sit there and think like, PepsiCo's Universal Studios. You just think Universal Studios. Oh, and Pepsi, they partnered up with Pepsi.
Right.
So
Oh,
and it's like, okay, I can get Pepsi here. That's just great. And I think kind of Microsoft's doing that thing where it's like, I can get Xbox here. That's just great.
I think something that's interesting is like they clearly don't necessarily care about being a first party anymore.
No.
Um, so is there a
And
world where Microsoft, yeah, okay, you can get a Microsoft system, but like who would if you can get all of Microsoft's games on a PlayStation, just get a PlayStation.
Well, I mean, they had their strategy, which they don't want to do because it's way too, I guess, what would you call it, bullish. And then we're entering a bare woods here.
Yeah.
Um, is that you would make your hardware for cheaper, but just as good. Basically, you undercut. You basically try to like, but Microsoft's not doing that. They've twice this year alone they've raised the cost of their consoles. Now they're more expensive than their competition by a pretty decent margin, so there's really no reason to buy an Xbox at this point. Like, I guess the Series S is kind of okay if you want to go for that. Okay, this is like bare minimum of next gen, and it doesn't cost. It doesn't cost as much as a Switch 2. It doesn't cost as much as a PS5, but it still costs probably way more than it should at this point. Like the gap between a Series S and say a digital based PS5 is not great.
Yeah.
Like the cost is they're too close because someone in my chat was asking me like, hey, I'm thinking of getting a Switch OLED. I forget for what game. Might have been Xenoblade X or whatever. And like, what do you think? Should I do that? I said, honestly, I think you should get a Switch too. Why are you going to pay $50 less? Why would you pay 400 for an OLED Switch One and not on a system that is on its way out? It is leaving, and not just pay $50 more and get a Switch Two, which is a brand new system that's going to be supported for another 8 years. So, and a Series S, I think, is in that same problem where it's like, well, it's cheaper, but it's like it is a lower grade, lower end version of something like, say, a dickless PS5, a base dickless PS5.
Right.
So it's like just spend the extra $50 to get a dickless PS5.
Doesn't all this make you feel and it's a vastly different situation than it was in the 80s, but it also feels just as chaotic as that first crash where it's like
There's
it feels like we're on the point of a black swan is that you can't see it coming, but in hindsight it seems like it's obvious it's coming. So we can't know what the black swan event for this industry
You
is
know
going to
what though?
be,
It
but
does feel like this is obvious to us. I feel it's obvious. It'll probably be. It'll feel like what you're saying to a lot of people who don't pay attention to gaming news 24/7. But I think for us, we've been sitting here waiting for this sort of disaster to strike, kind
it
of thing.
feels like we are on a precipice where like we're gonna have hopefully a mild crash in the gaming industry, which
Yeah,
is still
and
wildly like it is super profitable. The gaming industry is super profitable, but the practices that they're doing to try and
mhm.
increase profit year over year, I think is what's causing the instability and causing
Yeah, and the EA buyout really, if anything, this is the end result of line must go up because line can't
yeah.
always go up. So a private equity firm just buys it out completely.
We're weird times. And the thing is like, okay, we watched TGS, we saw the Sony state of play. Like Sony has things coming early next year.
Yeah.
That it's not a dearth like we originally were kind of like, what has Sony got going on?
Yeah,
Okay, there's
they
stuff
were
coming.
kind of quiet. Or like it was getting weirdly quiet.
And Wolverine looks pretty cool.
Yeah,
Like
Wolverine
I
looked fun.
yeah,
It looked a lot of fun.
Omega
Saros looked
Red
fun.
like there yeah, Saros is something that like I'm definitely interested in Saros more
Oh yeah.
now than I was when they first announced it. When they first announced it, I was like, "Oh, okay." But now seeing the gameplay and also realizing the cosmic horror roots and stuff, I hadn't played Returnal.
Returnal's good, but Returnal has this issue, and they kind of did a soft fix, which they didn't want to do, but were kind of bullied into doing, which is like a quick save feature because it's Hades, right? A third person shooter
Right.
Hades, but a run is like 3 hours long. A
Oh,
run in
right.
Hades is like 20, 30 minutes. It is 3 hours to do a full run, full all levels run in Returnal. And to me, I was like, that's ridiculous. Because again, you could be doing a 2 hour, you're in a 2.5 hours into a run, you die, just something happens. That's how these things go. And you lost all progress. You gain no progress. Like
Oh, you can't
whatever.
save between levels or anything like that? Or you couldn't
No,
before?
they couldn't. And they bullied in
No.
a quick save where like you save, but the minute you load it back up, the save is erased kind of thing. Because people were saying like this is ridiculous. I can't fucking do this. People were just like leaving their system on pause,
Right.
overnight or whatever. So, and I think it came down from the head honchos at Sony because there was kind of pushback that was reaching them from a kind of all corners of everywhere, being like, wait, you have a game that like forces you into like 3 hour like play sessions and you can't do anything about it. You can't go to, they're like, you need to do like, they're like, they kind of bully them into saying like, we own you. You need to put some sort of like quick save mechanic in there that we can't have this because it was like leading to like issues where basically people were going to overheat their PS5.
Right.
So, so Saros is permanent run. Every run is permanent. Every run you accrue, you are building something and it's permanently saved. It's not like,
so even if you fail and go back to the beginning, you got to save.
yeah,
all
you're
the
getting
progress.
permanent upgrades. It's a permanent upgrade version of Returnal.
Okay.
And I don't know. I know people kind of like that. I know there's philosophy design around it. I would just say fuck your philosophy and your design when your run is 3 hours long. Because you have massively over fucking bloated the absolute fuck out of your design. And I don't really have a problem saying that. I know Returnal's really fucking cool, cosmic horror. Oh shit! Oh, even Max really loved it too. Blah 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 blah.
Well,
3 hour runs with no ability, especially at launch, to fucking save between them. That's fucking bloated design. I don't fucking care who you are. Like, was the game fun? Yes. Was the controls great? Yes. Were the boss battles fantastic? Yes. Was great. 3 hour runs in a roguelike? No.
I mean, if you're gonna miss, all those other things being great does sort of make up for the 3 hour run.
I'm not saying, and again, I'm not saying it's a bad game, but I'm saying I think the gameplay was fundamentally flawed when you're like, we're going to have this big cinematic roguelike. It's going to take you hours per run and you can die and get no progress. And I'm like, fuck you.
The worst thing about being an adult is that I can't remember the last time that I had 3 full hours to play something through without any kind of pauses or breaks to go do whatever.
Just ridiculous. Sorry, just not no. I mean, and I stream. I stream almost every day. Like,
yeah, that's fair. Well, yeah, it's different
to sitting
for you,
on my ass, but I'm like, no, you should not be having hours long runs with no progression. So Sorrow's being permanent progression to me fixes the biggest main core issue of Returnal, and I'm like, cool, great. Now I'm way more interested now.
I wonder how long the run of Saros is going to be.
Yeah, I don't know, but who cares though? Like at that point, if
that's fine. But like, how many runs do you have to do to beat Returnal?
I mean, one, it depends on your skill, like all roguelikes, can you beat? And you're not supposed to beat things on your first try. So your first run's going to be like 30 minutes, and then it's going to be like an hour, and then it's going to be like 2 hours, and then like the runs get longer the more you get used to, you get better, and then you get more used to what you're encountering and yada yada. But like at the end of the day, I was sitting there when there was like 5 levels unlocked, and I'm like, they have level skips. Now there are things you can do in Returnal to do these like permanent level skips, but there's an inherent issue with doing the skips, because if you skip levels or skip straight to a boss thing, you didn't acquire anything, because how like in Hades and everything, the whole point of these games is you go to these rooms, you get these boons, you find this equipment that boosts your stats, boosts your attack, but gives you abilities that go away when you die, of course. So you could go run to the boss, but you're going to be fighting the boss naked. So
Which is how real men fight.
sure, but so it's like
Buck ass
yeah, so it's like
naked.
okay, well, unlock the shortcut and then fight the boss. It doesn't take that long. And I'm like, kind of, but I mean, you still have to do a lot of just 3D running through an area, running to the shortcut, go to the boss, go to the shortcut. So then you're just having a really long run back, and
Interesting.
then and then it's like, and now fight this boss naked with like no upgrades, and you're like chipping away its health like so pitifully, and you're going to be spending a half hour on a boss. So no, it's not great. It's not great game design. I know there's a contingent of gamers out there who pretty much only feel when their balls are getting pinched in a vice. I guess
Dark Souls
congrats to
players.
yeah, congrats to you. I guess whatever. But
Hey,
I don't
look,
think it's great game design personally.
we need those people. Okay, those people are important parts of society. They are capable of things that not everyone is capable of.
Also, they
Not
have
even a
time.
joke. I mean it. People that can embrace the suck. We need them. I just, I'm not even
Either
kidding.
way, like getting off track here, but yeah, like Sony has stuff for next year. Sony
Which,
also has question marks though too, because there's that Fair Games game that's pretty much fallen off the face of the earth now. It's probably another live service money pit. If it
yeah,
hasn't been
and there's
canceled.
also question marks where they're all like, how many games were they just said 2026. They didn't
Yeah.
even,
Well, remember Marathon?
right. No one
Marathon
does.
was supposed to have just come out. Marathon has no release date.
Yeah, I think Marathon might be dead. Maybe not. Maybe in January we're gonna hear like an update and they're gonna be like, we fixed the
They
things.
didn't talk about it at all at their state of play, which to me is kind of telling.
Yeah, I was oddly amped for Marathon up until the few things that came out where it was like that one they were stealing somebody's art and then things were like super the beta videos that got released. I don't know. It was weird. It was weird how my hype was like this steep climb, and then all of a sudden, just like, oh,
Deflating like a whoopee cushion.
yeah. There was no drop. There was no major drop. It was just like this weird deflation. It's sort of sad. I want the golden days of Bungie where like they really are making the best
Oh,
arcade
that's
shooter,
gone.
and
Bungie's
yeah,
gone.
it's not coming back. I guess it's sad.
It is.
Depresses me. We'll never get another Halo ODST.
Yeah, and I don't know. And then I guess looking forward to the future here, it's like what do we even do as far as third party gaming in America? Like I say, it's mostly cooked. There are going to be small publishers, limited run gaming and like Inner Sloth doing Outer Sloth, and like these really like these indie or these publishers where like an indie game does really well, it makes them a ton of money. So they go on and they like, okay, well, we're going to help start funding and publishing other indie games. So you have like this sort of small scale stuff that I think is going to continue to survive and probably even thrive. But it's really weird to think we live in a day and age now where,
Everything's consolidated.
yeah, everything's
Yeah.
consolidated, and not that there's much retail presence anyways, but because again, retail is pretty much gone, which is a whole other subject I actually was thinking of talking about during this podcast. Um,
Yeah, I
but
mean, there are no real gaming retail stores. They're merchandise
right. But
stores. But
imagine, I mean, just imagine going back in time 25 years, or whatever. And you would go on and you would look at a shelf at GameStop or whatever, like for PS2 games or, PS1 going into PS2 generation, N64 going into GameCube, whatever, right? All these different publishers that are just gone now, that have been consolidated, merged, shut down, whatever, right? There's no one left. There's 2K.
yeah,
Right? That's it as far as third party goes, because nothing Activision, technically nothing EA really, um, nothing Bethesda, nothing IDOS, nothing THQ, nothing Acclaim, nothing Midway. Like I guess WB Games technically
is
still
third
exists.
party and is there. I mean, NetherRealms is making stuff, although who knows if they're going to get sold off. As a weird aside, by the way, 2K being Borderlands 4, pretty good. It's a pretty good game. No one talking about it past. Well, actually, it released, and I haven't seen anyone talk about it at all.
there's been a lot of anger because of how the game basically doesn't function properly. Mostly Unreal Engine 5 woes. It's kind of
Oh
like the
well, I mean,
dominant conversation around that game right now. And apparently patches are actually like they'll release patches that actually make things worse.
oh
You know,
weird. The way I
yeah.
fixed it was I just changed which upscaler they have you assigned to.
Mm.
The Epic upscaler sucks nuts.
And some of the stuff isn't even PC. Some of it's on console. Like
Weird.
there's been these issues are on console too, and it's like, oh man.
They did not optimize well.
Well, it kind of seems like they really wanted to go in on that weird scaling stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's working out as well as they had probably hoped.
Well, if it what I was having happen, one, definitely there's a memory leak in the game. That might have been fixed fairly fast though, because I haven't had a problem with that. But
Yeah.
I had a problem with that the first day or two, and then didn't have a problem with that. But the AI upscaler, I'm not sure why do we need to do that when hardware is more powerful than it's ever been. Like what is the upscaler doing? Like what resources is it saving, I guess, is my question. Because with the upscaler active, yeah, you get like way loss of frames, things stutter, audio gets fucky.
The point was supposed to be that the game wouldn't have to be as big. You wouldn't have to compile as much stuff. You wouldn't have to stream as much data. You basically like offloading the GPU and offloading the amount of RAM you needed, and just like making the CPU take a lower res image and then just like upscale it, rather
Ugh.
than having to pull off, because a 4K, you could take a singular texture that's at 4K versus a singular texture at 720p, and it's like a fourth of the size or whatever, right? The
Right.
idea would be that like your game would be half or a third the size of what it would be if it was natively, running, at that native resolution.
Interesting.
So that was the idea behind it, but like it's been this weird crutch that I think is just kind of, but it also comes with its own set of like issues and problems now. And then the other thing is the lighting, because again, moving to lumen, nanite, and all these other solutions
Yeah, the dynamic
on
lighting rather than just set lighting.
and it's, to me, it's like, okay, but then that all that's done is cause more problems, because they're like, oh well, this frees up, we don't have to have someone go in and bake in the lighting, and we don't have to have like lighting programmers. Now we just have like technical engineers who just make sure that the lighting is bouncing off and reflecting in things the right way we want it, and we can have natural lighting that the AI is going to naturally take care of. And it's like, okay, and it just makes it just makes the performance take a dump, whereas just baked in lighting, rather than using reflective surfaces and taking all that other crap into account, you could just put a light bulb here and it just kind of does its thing, rather than like there's an interesting breakdown. I was watching like Ghost of Yotei, has ray tracing in it, surprise surprise. And I looked at the difference. I can visually see the difference, where it's like, here's baked in lighting on Ghost of Yotei naturally, where it's just like the sun in the sky comes through a window, shines through the window on whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And then on the ray tracing, you can see how it changes there's a sort of warmth or color depth where the sun comes in through the window and it's hitting the vases on a shelf, and then that's kind of creating like a little bit of like
Reflective lighting.
reflective lighting on the wall next to these vases, where that you don't have that on baked in lighting. And it's like, oh my, who fucking cares? Like, at the cost of performance, this is like, oh my god, who gives a shit?
The thing is like that is super cool, but also I think do you remember how Far Cry 2 did? Was it you that was telling me about how Far Cry 2 did its reflections in water?
I might have mentioned, I vaguely recall something about this.
And it's like it's just the old school like reflective world, and that's why all the water in Far Cry 2 is the exact same height, is because they have like insane reflections of the world above, because they just built a static world below that is a mirror of the world above. And so as you run across it, your body is actually moving in the two planes at the same time, and it looks like a reflection. But that's why the water has to be a consistent height everywhere in the game for that one. And it's like,
That's the one in Africa, right?
I think so, yeah. Never in a million years did I ever think about that. It's cool. It's a cool reflection, but not once while playing the game did I ever stop and look at the reflection and get down. And it's sort of like people that get obsessed with how did they get the mirror to work in whatever game. You know, I mean, off the top of my head, Last of Us 2, right, has several mirrors that you can look at, and like the characters mirrored. And oh, in older games, it's actually two characters, but in newer games, it's an actual mirror. You know what I mean? Like it's two
Yeah.
character models in older games.
Yeah.
And it's like in a million years, I've never cared about that. It's cool. Like I think anybody that pretends that it isn't cool is lying. It is very cool how far technology has come. But I also, yeah, I have a hard time caring if the game's running like garbage.
Well, there's another thing too that I don't understand with water reflections, where like it's something Monolith Soft does, where it's funny. Digital Foundry is kind of like, well, they have to do this. It's only this, not that. Where it's the reflective surface is basically sort of like this sort of shimmering version of the environment on like any of the water lake surfaces.
Right.
And then as you go through the water, it kind of just muddies it up. And that's the thing. I'm like, have you ever been? Have people ever been to a real lake in their life?
A muddy
Yeah, a
brown
muddy
lake. Yeah.
like water surfaces don't have this immediate fucking mirror image of everything around them unless that water is really still. If
Yeah.
there's movement, if a wind, if a breeze comes over that water, you get just a sort of wavy, distorted, like you barely have anything reflecting anymore.
Yeah, you get like a churn.
Like you look at the ocean, for everyone who doesn't live near the ocean, you look at the ocean and the ocean's blue and the sky is blue. You're not going to see a reflection of the clouds in the water on the ocean
Right.
because the water is moving. So if there's movement on the water, on a water surface, you don't get a fucking mirror reflection. So this weird thing about like, oh, we want to have like real-time reflections of everything that on the surface of the water is going to reflect what's actually right above it. I'm like, that wouldn't even fucking happen unless you were at a fucking dead still lake and the water wasn't broken. The minute you take a step in there and you throw a stone in there, anything fucking happens, the reflection shit is gone.
So this one time I was at the Sequoias and we had climbed up to like the snowpack lakes, the lakes that are only there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The clearest water I'd ever seen, to where it's like it just looks like it fades to black.
Yeah.
And like you can there's water, but it's crystal clear. And that is one of the only times that I've ever seen like true reflection.
Yeah.
I jumped into that and sank like a stone, by the way. It scared the shit out. I'm really comfortable in water. And this was before I had learned like buoyancy is different for different. So this very clear water has really, really low buoyancy compared to other even lakes. And so like I jumped in there and just like, like I went down. I was suddenly like 8-9 feet down from just like hopping in. Ooh, scared me.
So I didn't go in there, but I
Ooh.
saw that because I hiked over the Continental Divide in the Rocky Mountains.
Hell yeah.
And right above tree line, there's like these lakes that is the clearest, that is the most reflective water I've ever seen. It also doesn't, I mean, when I was there, it was cleared and there was no wind, nothing was moving. Water was a fucking table.
Mirror, yeah.
Yeah. So that is the most time I've ever seen a reflective surface. And it was funny you say that in Sequoias. And I can think back when I hiked over the Continental Divide, that is where I saw the most reflective water I've ever seen. The sinking thing though, that happened to me in a pool in the Caribbean.
Really?
There was this pool and I jumped in and I'm like, the water's, I kept describing it. No one understood me, but I was like, the water's heavy.
Yeah, the water's heavy.
Like,
I don't know.
The water's heavy because like I become like an anvil in the water. It's like actually harder to swim. It's like really hard to stay above. Like I don't know what was in what chemical composure or whatever made up this swimming pool that was right, next to the ocean. But like I sank like a rock in this thing. I've never felt water like that, heavy water.
So I realize this is a video game podcast, but the ocean hyperbuoyant because of the salt content.
The salt, yeah.
Yeah. Lakes, freshwater lakes, way less buoyant because there's no salt content, so it's more pure water. And so I'm guessing that the freshwater lakes that are made from like snowpack are glacier. Well, I know glacier, like you have to be really careful, like if you fall into glacial water because you can sink like a stone too.
Mm.
Um, and like you'll just be gone. And people will be like, "Oh, well, he went in that hole and he's gone forever now." But I don't know exactly why uh from lake water to this lake water, other than it was snowpack, so there was no vegetation, there was no dirt, there was no,
There's
it was just like
something about it, man.
granite, stone, and water. Yeah, freaked me the hell out.
I mean, I imagine it would. But yeah, speaking of sinking, the rest of the game industry. No, there is some other weird news that came out, and this really ties into what's happening with the whole what is going on. Like, I think my thesis at the end of the day is I think the Western gaming market, more than the Asian gaming market, is kind of like on the verge of collapse. Um, One, from line must go up, which it can't always maintain that, and two, just like over consolidation, over merging. Like, no, but there's no third party left. There's no independent studios left that aren't indie level. Like, it's cooked. And
Right.
again, EA is going to get gutted, to pay off that $20 billion debt and that $55 billion buyout. They're getting gutted for sure.
Your sports games are definitely going to still come out, guys.
Madden is going nowhere.
Yeah.
Football club's going nowhere. Again, I think every fucking building EA owns in California is gone, probably by next year.
They're just going to move them somewhere else.
No, they're just gonna shut them down.
Oh, and
Like,
have everyone work from home.
I don't even honestly, Andrew, I don't even know how many of those people are even gonna still have a job.
Well, I mean, you're going to have teams that are building FIFA and Madden.
So Madden's made by Tiburon, whatever, in Florida. I forget where the main FIFA office, unless the main FIFA developer is in California. I think those developers are going to kind of stay where they are, but the wording from this almost sounded like, in a weird sort of way,
They're going to sell it off for parts.
well, going by the transaction is the latest win for Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. A video game fan who is partial to Microsoft Corp's Call of Duty. He's focused on gaming as part of a national strategy to provide tens of thousands of new jobs and diversify the kingdom's economy away from oil. Honestly, it almost sounds like to me like he kind of wants to move EA. I mean, he didn't. That's not what it said, but it's like, it sounds like the goal of this is to provide thousands of new jobs
for Saudis. Yeah,
exactly. So I part of me is like, I don't think you spend, because I mean, like, okay, people were like, oh, there was all these fears that SNK was going to be, it was going to be run in Saudi Arabia, and I'm like, it's SNK's chump change, to the Crown Prince. Like, he, it's just not that. But you don't spend 36 billion in liquid and be like, this is just for fun. No, this is
interesting. So EA headquarters in Riyadh. That'd be wild.
I think it would be cheaper at the end of the day. Reality is that gaming in general, here's the thing probably nobody wants to say. No matter how talented the people in Naughty Dog, Sony Santa Monica, Insomniac, whatever, no matter how talented these people are, you can get a game to look like Black Myth Wukong or some of the other games for way cheaper in China.
Well,
now there's all kinds of caveats that come with that or whatever, but I'm just saying there are talented people in all over the world, and the people in America and frankly Canada, for that matter as well, and a little, we can kind of say the same for Europe a bit as well. It costs more to keep a studio like Insomniac and Sony Santa Monica and Naughty Dog. It costs way more to employ those people, keep those people running. It costs way more for all the Texas-based studios in Austin their salaries are way higher than games that are coming out of China, Southeast Asia, Japan, that are frankly on par graphically with what the Western market's doing, but they're doing it for cheaper. And that's sort of like the sort of that's the sort of dangerous part. Now, here's another thing that we haven't talked about at all. It came out last night. Nintendo officially established Nintendo Singapore. And they said at the end of their press statement, we have intention and plan to open a Nintendo Thailand in the Kingdom of Thailand.
Interesting.
And the wording in that press release kind of seemed to indicate that Nintendo is starting to look at the Asian, Southeast Asia market as potentially more, not more important, but like that's going to be an explosive growth area, not just for employees, but for players, for a consumer base. So that's an interesting thing there. And it was also learned, speaking of EA, Doug Bowser's done at the end of the year.
Yeah.
He's leaving. Nothing sounds nefarious from it, though it is kind of like, wow, this guy did not stick around long. He barely even showed up much after the announcement of him replacing Reggie. Like he wasn't
like Reggie, where Reggie was charismatic, at least.
Right.
Somewhat, you know.
And he kind of tried to be, but like he didn't really host any directs. The last time he came out of whatever rock he was under to do press interviews at the Switch 2 launch. And then he kind of like, I mean, it was very tiny and minor, but you have to imagine, like, you know, maybe this has an impact, maybe it doesn't. I'm just throwing this out there. He caused a little bit of a storm when he sort of was implying, he kind of pulled a Don Matrick of like, oh, well, you know, if you think this is too expensive, we got the Switch 1 for you, you know, you can still play that, you know. Like the answer to some of his questionnaires were a little bit like,
flippant.
Yeah, a little flippant. Yeah, a little flippant, I guess is a good way to put it. This is very minor. It's not nearly as bad as what Don Matrick said when people were asking, what if people can't get onto the internet or whatever? Well, we have a system for them. It's called the Xbox 360. So it wasn't that bad, but there was some comments that came out of some of those press interviews that were a little bit like, okay. The big one being about how Mario Kart World, you'll see it when you play the game, you'll understand why it's $80 and why it's worth every penny. Oh no, we're not.
Well, that's another game that's just seems out of the zeitgeist very fast.
Yeah. So I'm not saying this is what got him fired or anything, but I am just saying that, like,
well, was he fired or did he just leave?
No, he's leaving. He's retiring.
Yeah.
So it's he didn't get in trouble, but I have to imagine he probably was my guess. Here's my guess from all this. He's annoyed over the complete lack of autonomy at Nintendo of America, because they're replacing him with two people. One is the woman David Pratcher. She's been with the company for 20 years.
20 years, yeah.
Which, I mean, there was really what a great barometer to know how just openly misogynistic someone online is.
Because they didn't know anything about her, and they called her a DEI hire.
Immediately, and it was like, all right, you're like, okay, yes, you're a misogynist. There is no context. There is no context or way to interpret this any other way. You just knee-jerk were upset over a woman becoming.
Well, yeah, you also got to remember 60% of the people on social media are bots that are just rage baiting, generating.
I pray to God so.
No, I mean that's come out as truth.
Come
out as truth. It's higher on other social media platforms, but apparently that's like Twitter. 60% of all traffic is done by bots. Also,
in addition to his replacement, Devin Pratcher replacing him as president of NOA, there is going to be a CEO of Nintendo of America, Shibata-san, who he has bounced around. He has been Nintendo Australia. He's been Nintendo Europe. He's been with Pokemon Company, for some years. Nintendo has put this guy everywhere, all throughout his career.
Is he a fixer?
He's a fixer. Like, what else could you possibly look at that as?
But what's
Because
wrong at
most people,
Nintendo America? Like, what needs fixing?
uh,
Trying to just
honestly,
bring them in line?
again, this is going by like some of the comments Doug Bowser kind of made at the launch of the Switch 2. I'm just kind of like, you know what? I think we want to have a little more Japanese control of the narrative. We're gonna have him speak to the press. We're gonna have
Interesting.
him doing so. I mean, this is Tales
From a
from my
butthole.
asshole. Yeah, Tales from my asshole completely. But I mean, this is just how I'm viewing the situation here. I'm like, why would you bring in this man who he's a cool dude. He's been very he's like a guy, he was like Iwata, he was like Koizumi. He would be in Nintendo of Europe directs and he would like dress up as Professor Layton or he would dress up as Ace Attorney sometimes. Um,
So he's their
so
charisma hire. He's got the Riz. They're bringing him out.
yeah, there's even some speculation. Satoru Shibata is because when he was at Nintendo of Europe, that's when Nintendo of Europe brought over Disaster Day of Crisis and Last Story, Pandora Sun, and Xenoblade. So apparently he was kind of the reason for getting Xenoblade translated out of Japanese. There's speculation that he might actually have been the reason for getting that into a global, which is paid off in the long run. But yeah, like it's I can't help but look at that and go like, this is a fixer situation, you know, like
Yeah, it's interesting.
it's yeah, all Nintendo of Australia, Nintendo of Europe, Nintendo of Japan, Pokemon Company, and now Nintendo of America. So he's a fixer. He's coming in to basically keep the NCL, which is the Japanese side, is to keep their message on point. You know, keep their things on on point. If anything, I just think and again the person Miura who's taking over Nintendo Singapore is from Japan as well. They're not hiring like the person running Nintendo Singapore is not from Singapore. So they're very much wanting to keep these sort of Japanese roots or Japanese oversight everywhere they're going. And that includes America because they've had Doug Bowser, they've had Reggie. They will have this they will have Mrs. Pratcher, you know, they're taking over that role. But I mean it's like going back, it's like I think they want someone from Japan kind of like overseeing the whole thing.
Well,
Is
they
it
were a
xenophobic?
Yakuza family.
Yeah. I mean, is it a little bit xenophobic? Yeah, absolutely it is.
I don't know.
um,
Well, I mean, it might just be something as simple as they don't want miscommunication between leadership.
yeah.
And, you
Yeah,
know,
I mean, it could be not so much nefarious, but like you just said there, it's like it's kind of more of just a communication thing, really. And again, Mrs. Prasher, who's coming in, she's been there for 20 years. She absolutely knows what's going on with the company.
yeah,
Pritchard. I'm sorry, I'm saying her name wrong, like Terry Pratchett. Pritchard. Pritchard.
Pritchard.
Pritchard. Thank you.
Interesting.
Pritchard. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it's a good thing to end the state of games going into holiday 2025 because clearly it means that Nintendo sees an expanding industry.
Yeah, well, and I think Nintendo is also kind of. I think there's honestly, I think there's a global shift, and I think it used to be like when we say okay, like the Asian market dominates. That meant Japan. I think China is becoming a huge factor. Korea is becoming a huge factor, and I think we're going to start seeing stuff from Thailand, from Singapore. I think Southeast Asia is going to become more and more involved, even on the development side of video gaming going forward. And I think
Cool.
you're going to see stuff kind of catered more and more towards those markets anyways, because that's where market growth is going to happen. And frankly, to be a little political, we're isolating the shit out of our borders here. And we're doing things that are basically anti-business at the end of the day. So I can see why there's sort of a shift or run towards, well, okay, let's move towards this massively populated part of the world. And there's the one country which is technically in Asia that we haven't talked about at all, and there's a billion fucking people there, and it's India.
Right.
So and
Well,
that's not even being talked about yet. But again, that's probably a sleeping giant right there of money.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know enough about Indian economics. You
Neither
know,
do
I
I. I'm just
I
saying it's a country with 1 billion people.
I read about
So
Chinese economics and stuff fairly regularly, but Southeast Asia and South Asia, India specifically, I don't know a ton about their economy. So, I mean, it's possible. There's obviously a large population of people there. It just depends on how much income they have
and
for
I think
entertainment.
I think we kind of priced ourselves out, honestly, in a weird sort of way. Part of that is not just because there's nuance to this, because yeah, I said earlier, it's really expensive to run these studios, but it's also really expensive to have really well paid middle management who does fucking nothing, or really bad project managers
Well,
who
that's a
are
problem throughout
gobbling up
corporate
money.
America. Is middle management is extremely bloated.
Which I've been saying on this podcast alone for years
Yeah,
now, that there's a project management crisis. And that's not, and again, that's, and for, to be fair to the American developers who are very talented, that's not their fault, and it's not
no,
really like any problem that it's they're victims of this problem more than anything. And it's like, yeah, like, we need to get to a business model where we don't have stupid ass project managers, and we just have people who are really good at, like, what is our game, what is the focus of our game, what is the point, what is the core loop of our game. All right, great, make it, sit down, schedule it out, make it. Don't and we will ignore any other market trends. No tech broing, no adding in features, no feature creep, no scope creep. Just make your fucking game.
having done project management, what I can tell you is that the reason why there's so many bad project managers is there's very few people that seem to understand what project management really is or how it works.
Which is
And
everything I've ever heard from the development side.
yeah, it's very simple. I mean, producers are project managers in film. And like I was a program and project manager for a while as a contractor. Um, and a lot of it is just like knowing the pipeline from beginning to end and knowing the timeline and knowing just enough about every little stop on there to
Yeah.
be able to like move things along. Um, but there's a lot of people that get that job title that just like they don't know anything about. They're good at whatever they were doing that got them bumped to that,
Yeah.
and so they might know one part of the process very well, but then they aren't necessarily versed in any other part
And
of the
again, the
process.
worst part about it is, what do all the investors, and this was in some of the press release with the EA buyout, was talking about how they're actually going to save money with EA. What do you think it is? It's AI.
Yeah,
They're talking about, they literally openly stated using AI voice actors, AI
yeah.
background artists, AI beta
Hey,
testers
I got
to
real.
find bugs. And I'm like, "Oh man, we're cooked."
All right, we're gonna end on a positive note. The AI bubble is gonna pop. It's gonna, and it's gonna cost a lot of people a lot of money. But if you want to read about AI and how much of a sham a lot of this is, made literally to trick investors into giving money to these companies, read anything by an author named Ed Zitron. Runs a whole blog, a tech blog about AI and the background of
It's a
AI.
gold rush.
Yeah. So
Best way I can say AI is a gold rush is that, like, someone found some success with some AI mechanic somewhere. Now it's been sold to everyone. It's basically the grift after crypto, after NFTs, right?
yeah,
And do you know who made the most money in every gold rush in American history?
the people selling the tools.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know who's selling the pickaxes and the wheelbarrows? It's Nvidia.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, Nvidia. Okay, I don't want to get. It's a whole rabbit hole
Nvidia
to go down.
Nvidia is going to is the one, they're already making out the best. Why? Because they're selling you the tools to go mine that AI.
Yeah.
There's gold in them thar hills, but there isn't.
Yeah. They found that almost no company that has instituted AI has made money from it. They've done nothing but lose money from AI initiatives. Every company. I'm just
But that doesn't matter if you believe
Yeah, as long
that
as
it's
investors
going to
believe in it,
make you so
they'll
much money.
line go up. On that note, we've got patrons to thank. If you're interested in becoming a patron at any level, please check out patreon.com/YoVideogames podcast. Dude of the week was Justin Diaz. Thank you so much, Justin. And our producers for this episode are Dragon Wolf Makoto, Osnite, Donglemeister, Zybernite, Tsunami, Croy35, LCL Mayhem, and Ziggy Z. Thank you, dudes. We will catch you next time.
Later, dudes.